Hi, welcome to today's class on Dotloop 201. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, and in today's training class, I'll be covering a little more of the advanced Dotloop tips. So tips, tricks, time savers to help make your Dotloop experience a little more effective, a little more efficient. This is a faster paced class. I do assume in this class that you have used Dotloop in the past and have some experience in it. So if you would like to watch the Dotloop 101 class, again, that is on slmtraining.com to watch the basics. And of course, if you're watching this class recorded, you can always pause it so you can follow along on your end. So the first thing that you're going to do, and as you probably know if you've been using Dotloop for a while, the best way to log into your Dotloop account is actually by going to mykw.kw.com. That's where I am on my screen here. So you'll see on the top address bar, I'm on mykw.kw.com. And that's where you'll really go to log in for all your KW tech tools. So it's kind of like your technology hub with KW. And the best way to get into Dotloop without further password, you guys have enough passwords as it is, one less doesn't hurt. But you can just click on where it says Start My Transactions on this top center edge control panel box. You'll see it says My Transactions on the top right of that box, and you'll click on that blue link that says Start My Transactions. And that should take you into your Dotloop account without further password. Now, if it does take you to a blue and white Dotloop login screen, no worries, just go ahead and log into your Dotloop account there, and then it should permanently connect your Dotloop account to your MyKW platform, so it goes right in for further reference. However, you can also go to dotloop.com directly. So if you prefer, just go dotloop.com. You can always log in that way. And just a heads up, you do have an option to download an iPhone or an Android Dotloop mobile app, which is really great for your iPad or Android tablet. When you're on the go, really great with clients sitting right next to them that you can utilize that Dotloop app. So feel free to check that out. You just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and search for Dotloop to download that right away. Now, when you go into your Dotloop account, as I am here, first thing I want to mention is there is a brand new Dotloop homepage. I want to say they rolled this out within the last 3 months, if not sooner than that. So if your screen does look different, don't panic. I will show you how to get over to this new Dotloop homepage so we can all follow along on the same track here. If you are looking at the Dotloop homepage, I am on my screen. Great. Hold tight for a second here. Now, if you've been using Dotloop for a little while and you're used to the red and black home screen, so if I click on the top right of my Dotloop account, it's either my headshot in a circle or my initial in a circle, it does give me the option to switch to old Dotloop, okay, on that drop down there. So I know it's tough learning a new platform once you've learned it already. You can always switch back to the old Dotloop home screen if you would prefer, so you can do that just by clicking there. And this might look familiar to some of you. And this is the original Dotloop home screen, the one we've been using for the last few years at least. You will notice on the top of this screen, there is a slightly darker black bar that says click here for early access, the new and improved loops page. Let's go ahead and do just that. So if you're on this Dotloop homepage view, go ahead and click here just so I can take you through the new Dotloop homepage because it will eventually permanently go to the new one. So we might as well start learning it. And of course, if you're a newer agent, just go ahead and learn the new Dotloop homepage. So let's go ahead and click here for early access. And it'll take you to the Dotloop homepage. That will be rolling out permanently pretty soon here. Now, biggest thing to note, you will want to see that it says Keller Williams, a Keller Williams logo on the top left. And you want to see that it says Premium on the top left as well. So if you are not seeing a KW logo on the top left, please make sure to go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com. Let me send out our email here so you guys have that. Support@scottleroymarketing.com. Okay, that's our email there. If you do not see the KW logo on the top left, that means you are not connected to your Market Center. You do not have access to all of your Market Center forms. So again, you'll want to go ahead and email us so we can connect you so you can follow along in class. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do in today's class is take a look around the new Dotloop homepage. Now in the Dotloop 101 class, I do cover what is on the top right here, the navigation. So rest assured, if you've been using Dotloop for a little while and feel a lot more comfortable with the old Dotloop homepage, really on the new Dotloop homepage, all the navigation is really the same. It's all in the same spots. It's really just a different color, and now the loops are square instead of circle. Okay, and so they really just changed the look. The navigation's the same, so it's pretty easy to convert, if that makes you feel any better. And if you click on any of your loops here or any of these options, it will take you back to what you're used to seeing, that red and black view. All right, so it's just the home page that changed. So talking about, I'm going to start on the left side here. One big thing I really like about the Dotloop homepage view now is no matter what view you're on, you can always use the search bar here. So the search bar comes in handy if you start doing lots of transactions, selling lots of homes, which I know you will. So you can easily search through your loops to find the one you're looking for right away. Okay, so that's a great tool to utilize. All right, you'll notice your activity log on the top here, and that will show you every click, every signature, every share, every action that was done in your Dotloop account by you or your clients or anyone that came into your Dotloop account. Notifications, if you have any notifications such as your signature being required or letting you know that your client signed, okay, most notifications come to your email as well, and you can always toggle your notification settings from your My Account section of Dotloop, which is by clicking on your headshot on the top right and clicking My Account. Okay, so you typically get these notifications via email, and you can view those within Dotloop as well. Coming over to the right-hand side here, we have some other options here. Okay, first of all, let's talk about filters. These are really huge for organizing your Dotloop home screen. As you start selling lots of homes and have lots of loops, it gets a little overwhelming having so many loops to find the loop that you need right away. So a couple things to utilize in here. So go ahead and click on filters if you're following along on this part. And let's talk about archived. Archiving your loops, this did change slightly with the new Dotloop homepage. I kind of like it better. So archiving your loops, just to explain that a little bit, there is no deleting anything in Dotloop. You can't delete forms, you can't delete loops. So if you ever feel like you lost something in Dotloop, good news is it's there. The only way to get rid of it in your account is by archiving it, and that essentially hides it from your view. So how you archive a loop, first of all. So you'll notice it does give you the option to archive on each one of your loops here. So you can do just that. I can click on archive here. It will show me it's archived on the top, and it will give me the option to unarchive too, if you want to undo that. But you'll notice it didn't just automatically hide that from my screen here. Okay, so if I come up to filters, so if you refresh your page, that would go away. But if I come up to filters, it does give you the option to hide your archived, show only your archived, or show all your loops. So if you ever feel like you lost a loop, you can't find it anywhere, again, it's in there. It can't be erased, so that's good. You can always come into here and click on all, click apply on the bottom right, and then it will allow you to search through all of your loops, including those archived loops. All right, so that's a great tip if you ever feel like you lost a loop, because that is an alarming feeling. All right, in general though, I would suggest leaving it as hide archived here. Okay, so that you're hiding the archive loops on your screen. You don't need to be seeing those. Okay, those are the loops you don't need anymore. Other than that, let's come on down here. Let's talk about loop statuses. So it's about the third section down, loop statuses. You will notice there's a whole bunch of options here. And where the loop statuses correlate, okay, is right here on the front of your loop now, which is cool. This is a newer thing with the new Dotloop home screen. Now, with the statuses, this is how you really stay organized. So, for example, you don't need to be seeing your sold loops. You don't need to be seeing ones that are done. So, I'm going to go through and check all the ones I do want to see, and I'm going to leave unchecked the sold. I do not want done. I don't generally need withdrawn or terminated. Okay, so you can generally leave these unchecked. And you can click apply. And what will happen is it will show you only the loops with these statuses and hide the loops that are sold, okay, and archived, because we have that selected up here, and withdrawn, terminated, and done. Okay, so we're not looking at all those loops that we're no longer dealing with. So when I click apply, it will hide those loops. So you notice that archive loop that I had here is now gone, and it is only showing me the statuses that I selected. So let's talk about how to edit your status on your loop to make that effective, an effective tool for you. So on some of these, I already have the option to change the status right here, but let's say this is a new loop for you, and you're only seeing the option to add type. And so you do have to change the type from none to one of these options before it will allow you to select a status. So in the type here, I'm going to go ahead and select that it's, let's say, a listing for sale or a purchase. Okay, those are the big ones to use for listing for lease, of course. But you'll need to just select any sort of type here. And you'll notice once I select a type, it then allows me to select a status. So I can come into the status, and this is where I can come and select if it's under contract, okay, pre-offer, if it's sold, withdrawn, or terminated due to the filters I have on here that would hide that from my Dotloop homepage. Okay, so if I don't want to see that, I can click sold, and that will hide that loop. Now it doesn't just automatically disappear. You would have to refresh your page or go into a loop and back in. You can also click this loops icon on the very top, I believe. No, I lied, sorry. But refreshing your page is just like clicking that arrow in a circle on the top left of your browser by the back button. Okay, if anything's ever not working, that refresh button always helps out. So once you refresh, you'll then notice that one I labeled as sold is now gone from my Dotloop homepage. But of course, I can always get that back by editing my filters here. Okay, so filters are really huge for organizing your loops and for the panic of, oh my gosh, I lost a loop. Okay, so filters, you can always come in here and clear all your filters on the bottom, and it will bring up all of your loops. So you can search for that and find it right away. All right, so that is filters in a nutshell. Let's talk about sorting your Dotloop homepage on the right-hand side. So my favorite sort is last updated. That will, of course, as you might guess, put your last updated loops at the very top of your screen here. So the loops that you are most frequently working on, or last time you were working on that loop in your account, it will be the first one in there. So that is my favorite, but you'll notice a whole bunch of different options you can sort by, so you can pick whatever you would like. And then you'll notice a down arrow on the right-hand side, which corresponds to sorting that in ascending or descending order. Okay, so you can play with that if you're ever looking for a loop. And last but not least, you will see an option for list view on the far right. Okay, so this is totally up to you. This right here is called the grid view, how you're viewing your loops in a grid form, which makes sense. Or you can view it in a list form by clicking this list icon on the top right here. It will show your loops in a list form as well. All the functionality is really the same. You can change the statuses here, you can search. It's really just up to you if you like the view of it one way or another. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the grid view. You'll notice now it gives me 4 squares to switch back to the grid view. And you can switch back and forth all day. Okay. One more thing I want to point out on this Dotloop homepage, then we'll create a loop and get going on all that fun stuff. I do want to point out on the far left, there is now a texting option that Dotloop rolled out within the last month or so. This is a very new feature. So you can now text your clients from your Dotloop account. So if I were to click on that text, the little speech bubble on the far left in blue, little blue tab, it will pop up the option to create a messenger. Now, if I were to click this option to write, okay, the little pencil icon on the top right, that would pull up all my contacts here. Okay, these are Dotloop contacts. So I could select that contact, okay, or of course you can enter in a name, phone number, email here. So let's say, to enter in a phone number here and click next. Okay, it will take me into the texting feature, so I could type something to my client and it will text it to them. So if you want to correspond via text message, it does come from a different phone number than your primary cell phone number, so check that out. But it is a good way to keep track of all of your text message conversation. It does store them all in Dotloop, okay, for good tracking purposes and liability. So that is a new feature of Dotloop that you can start playing around with. And that is just by clicking on the speech bubble on the left side. All right, so you can just click to the right there and it will make that go back in. And let's go to the far right to click Add Loop, that blue button on the top right there. Okay, we need to create a sample loop here so we can practice some of the Dotloop tools. Now, this is slightly different with the new Dotloop homepage. It does take you to 4 steps that you need to do to create a loop. First one, creating the property address. So if you want to, for today's class, do 123 practice loop, 123 Main Street, your home address, whatever your heart desires on that. Okay, so something I'd like to explain that I feel like not many agents utilize this tool or know what this does. So you'll notice when you start typing in an address, it will pop up different options, different suggestions that you can select from. So that does a couple things. So first of all, what it will do, let's say I am the buyer's agent and I am making an offer on this listing right here. I know it's this listing because I can see the MLS ID right here. I can see who it's listed by. I know that's the agent on the other side. So if I were to select that, what it does is it links our loops in a way, okay, in a totally privatized way. But what it does is it shares the public information to the loop I'm creating as the buyer's agent. So it would share all the public address information, public property information, okay, nothing private from their loop, but all the public information. It will share it into my loop so that all that information will autofill onto every form that I create in my account, in this loop here. So it's a huge time saver as you don't have to enter in all the property information. You don't have to go searching for it. It just automatically grabs it from this agent's loop and starts autofilling it on your forms. Another really cool feature that this does. So if you've been using Dotloop for a little while, okay, and let's say you're the listing agent and an agent, a buyer's agent makes an offer on your listing. You might have run into a two-loop situation where you have your loop as the listing agent, and then now you have this whole nother loop from the buyer's agent that has the contract, and really only the contract, maybe property disclosures, a whole second loop for the same property. It's very confusing to have two loops for the same property, okay, and very difficult to deal with. So to mitigate that, to get rid of that two-loop situation, if I were to select this option going in, it would again link our loops. So if the buyer's agent made an offer on the listing, instead of creating a whole new loop, it would put that offer in my loop as the listing agent in a new folder. So as a listing agent, I would then have a new folder in my loop with the property address and the listing agent's name, showing that offer within that loop instead of creating a whole new loop. Okay, so let me know if you have questions on that. I know that's a lot of information. Really great tools that not a lot of agents take advantage of, so feel free to check that out. For now, let's go ahead and create our loop with a property address. If at all possible, of course, you want to name your loop the property address. And click continue. Okay, you then have the option to select a template from here. Okay, taking us through the steps. Now, these templates are loop templates, so what they would do is create folders and it would bring in all the initial forms that you need to get going on that transaction. So if you do have the option to select a template from here, it is a great thing to utilize. If you do not have loop templates in here, there's nothing wrong with your account. It could be that your office just does not utilize that part of Dotloop. So no worries for today's class, just to make sure we're all on the same page. I'm not going to select a template, but you can. I would recommend it if you have that option. And click continue. Where it will take me to upload a photo. Now, Dotloop says that if you take the time to upload a photo, let's say of the home that they're excited to be buying, that client is 5 times more likely to use you again or refer you out because they think, wow, that agent created a personalized website for me to sign my forms on. So let me show you how that would work. So in theory, the first step is you would need to, let's say, go on the MLS and save a photo of the home that your client is buying to your computer. So the next step is I'll click upload a photo here. It will search my computer. I can go to wherever I have that saved. I can double click on that file, that photo, and it will bring it into my loop here. Okay, it's just a sliver of the home. There's no way to resize that or change which portion it's viewing. It kind of is what it is. All right, but having that little photo there, again, gets them pretty excited about buying the home, and it makes them feel personalized. So it doesn't take long to do that and typically worth it. So I'll go ahead and click done on the bottom right, that blue button there. It will take a second, but then it will upload your loop. So now you have the option to either create another loop or go ahead and view loop. So I'll go ahead and click view loop here. And that will take me into my loop here right away. Now the first thing that you'll want to do when going into your loop is of course add your clients to that loop, which you can do by scrolling down to the bottom of your loop to the people section. You will always see your admin from your office and yourself. Oh, and actually, sorry, I meant to send out, I do have Dotloop notes before I go any further. Just jogged my memory here. Let me send out a link to our Dotloop notes here. So this is the Dotloop 101 and 201 notes, so you have it at least written out if you'd like to follow along with written notes. If you're watching this class recorded, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and put attention my name, which is Leah, Leah, and I'd be happy to shoot over those notes to you right away. All right, so what jogged my memory on that is if you are taking notes in today's class, this is a noteworthy moment. Please jot down what your Dotloop email address is. So right here, you will see your Dotloop email address. If another agent is sharing a form with you, they cannot just share it to any email address. It has to be this email address specifically for it to come into your Dotloop account. Okay, it's a big mess when they share it to another random email address that you might have. So make note of what your Dotloop email is. And to add more people to your loop, we're going to go ahead and click Add Person on the far right here, that big red button, to add our client. Let's go ahead and just add a fake client here just so we can practice with someone. So if you want to go ahead and put in your spouse's name, your kid's name, or maybe your favorite TV character, or John Smith if you're not feeling particularly creative today, you can go ahead and enter that in. So Dotloop, of course, requires 3 main items to add in a client. That is their full name, email address, and role. For their email address, if you'd like to go ahead and just use a personal email address that you have, so one that's not associated with Dotloop, as we just saw. That way you can see what it looks like when you share a form with your client and what your client sees. And we need to select a role here. So the role on the far right is super important. Your client will not be able to electronically sign unless you select a role. So clicking role, I'll go ahead and select one of the options here. You will notice a little gray scroll bar on the right side to view a whole bunch of different roles, but the primary ones are at the top here. So I'm going to go ahead and select seller because I'm going to work with a listing loop in today's class. But you can pick whichever corresponds, seller, buyer, and so forth. And it will pop down a whole bunch of different options that you can add for your client. Okay, if you add any of this information here, it will autofill all this information on any forms that require that information, like a listing agreement, for example. Now, I do need to talk quickly about what this Add to My Team feature does. Okay, if you are taking notes in today's class, please make a note to never, ever, ever click this Add to My Team feature here, that checkbox, if you are adding a client to your loop. So we never click that if you're adding a client. So the general concept of Dotloop is everything is private in your loop until shared. Okay. So clicking Add to My Team here would make it so that your client can see everything in your loop that you can see. You of course don't want that. You only want your client to see the items that you choose to share with them. Okay, so we don't click that for our clients. However, it is a really great feature, so let me talk to you about when you would want to select that. So if you are co-listing a property with another agent in your office, so you're on the same side of a transaction, you can add that that agent to your loop here and click Add to My Team. And it would add that loop to the other agent's loop, a Dotloop account as well, so you can both collaborate on that loop together. So it's a great work together tool. Right? So that is if you are on the same side of the transaction specifically. Another great time to use that if you're on a real estate team and you have a team admin, you can add your team admin to every loop, click Add to My Team, and it will add that loop to your admin's Dotloop so they can help you out. So great feature, just not for our clients. And let's click Add Person on the bottom right. And you'll see it adds your clients in. You got Tony Stark for the Iron Man fans. Now to the people section. Of course, if there was a spouse or another person that needed to sign, you could click Add Person on the top right to do that process all over again. For now, though, let's go ahead and go to the top of your loop to the Document section. The Document section is where you'll be spending the most amount of your time in your Dotloop account. It's where you'll be adding your forms, preparing your forms, sharing your forms so your clients can electronically sign that. So in this document section, let's talk a little bit about organizing your documents, because as you know, there are a whole bunch of forms that go into a single transaction. And having all of the forms in your transaction under one folder is very overwhelming for you as you go into your loop and try and find a form quickly. And it's also overwhelming for your office staff, your admin. Okay, your admin does compliance review on all your loops, helps you keep legal, and that's how you get paid, right? So you'll want to make it easy for you and your admin to find the forms that you need quickly. So folders are a great way to do that. Let's talk a little bit about how to utilize folders. So first of all, we have a default folder in there. If you have a loop template that you selected when you're creating the loop, you might have more than one folder. Awesome. You can always rename the folder by clicking on the 3 drop-down dots to the far right of that folder name and click Rename. Okay, so 3 drop-down dots on the far right and select Rename. I can then change that folder name to, let's say, Listing Folder. Okay, I'm going to show you what it looks like for a listing loop, what I would suggest. So I can just start typing in the word listing, and you can either click Enter on your keyboard or click in the white margin, and it will make that folder name stick. If you accidentally have a typo or messed up, no worries, you can always keep renaming it by the 3 drop-down dots on the far right. So now that I have my listing folder, okay, things I'll want to put in here are things like the listing agreement, active MLS data sheet, your residential property disclosure signed by the seller, and everything that goes into listing the home. Your office staff may have checklists of all the things that you need to stay in compliance for the listing, buy, and closing of the property you're representing. So check that out. So we have our listing folder. Next thing we'll want to do is click Add Folder on the top right here, where you can go ahead, you'll see a new folder pop up, and you'll see a little cursor that's blinking to the left of the word New. I can use the arrows on my keyboard to tab to the right side of the word New, where I can backspace, and I can name that one Sales Folder. And again, I can either click Enter on my keyboard or click in the white margin to make that stick. In the Sales Folder, I want to put things like the fully executed property disclosures, fully executed contract, everything that goes into the contract portion of the transaction. And last but not least, just so you guys have an example loop of how to be organized the best way, best practices, I'll click Add Folder again. If you would like to do it as well, you can. And I'll click the 3, and then you can use the arrows on your keyboard to tab over to the right side of the word New and change that to Closing. All right, in the Closing folder, you'll want to go ahead and put things like the closing disclosure, maybe termite letter, anything involved in the closing of the property. Right. So that is the best practice for a listing loop. If you're representing the buyer, you would typically only have 2 folders, the sales folder and closing folder. But you can use folders any way that you would like, totally up to you. Great way to stay organized. So for example, if you're representing the listing and one of the contracts falls through, okay, what you could do in that case is you could rename the sales folder to that agent's name or that client's name, and you can write terminated next to it. You could then add a new folder and add it, new sales folder for that client's new buyer's name, and go ahead and have it separated there. Okay, so it's not all under one folder. Way less confusing. And while we're on this topic, I do just want to explain something to you real quick. If you are representing, so the way that Dotloop works is it is based on the property. So you have a loop per property that you sell. So for example, if you're representing a client who is selling their home with you and then buying the next home, that's going to be 2 different loops because it's 2 different properties. So it's by the property, not by the client. Okay, with that being said, if you are representing a listing and you receive an offer on that listing, and that offer terminates. You can simply create a new folder and keep your same loop within that, within here. Okay, you don't have to create a whole new loop if it's your listing and the offer terminates. And that is not the same if you are representing the buyer. If you're representing the buyer and the offer you submit terminates and now they're going to turn around and buy a different home, you would have to create a whole new loop in your account. Okay, because it's per the property, not per the client. It's how Dotloop works best. It would auto-populate all the wrong property information. So again, if you're representing the listing, the offer terminates, keep your loop. If you're representing the buyer and the offer terminates, you need to create a whole new loop. Now, with that being said, you can easily move forms from one loop to another. So if you're representing the buyer and it terminates, you have to create a whole new loop. Let me send over instructions on how to move things from one loop to another. Okay, so that's a short 10-minute video on the make a copy feature, which we'll be talking a little bit more about in a little bit here. You can move forms from one loop to another. I know that was a lot of information, guys. I just want to make that clear because that's a big question that we get. If you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to ask. I'd be happy to explain that further. So let's talk about now adding forms to our loop. So as you notice, you do see add document to the far right of every folder name. And you can go ahead and click where it says add document. Let's say to the listing folder, if you're following along, where you'll see 3 blue boxes appear, which is 3 different methods on how to add forms to your loops. Now let's go ahead and select that first option, the templates option, where you'll notice it says add an interactive form by selecting one from templates. Okay, interactive forms mean that you can just start typing in the form right away. It's a Dotloop document. So go ahead and select that first option. And it will pop up all the templates that you have in your account. Now your templates will look different than mine because you're in a different market center. Your office staff awesomely puts all these documents in your Dotloop account for you. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of red names going down your screen, and that is form folders. So all of these on the left-hand side are categories or folders of where all your forms sit. So I'm going to pull in a listing agreement. So if you'd like to look on the left-hand side for a form folder that you think would be holding a listing agreement, okay, really any form will work just the same. And go ahead and click that. You'll notice it turns black to indicate it's selected. You can then use the search bar at the top of your screen to search for the form that you're looking for. So if I'm searching for a listing agreement, I'm going to type in the word listing, okay, or whatever your listing agreement is called in your area. It sure would be nice if all the forms were called and look the same and were called the same thing across the US. Make things a little easier. All right, so once I type in the word listing, it does pull up all the forms that have the word listing in the title. You can always hover over the name of the form to view the full form name. It will pop up in a black speech bubble if it does run off. Once I find the one I'm looking for, I can click the checkbox to the left of whichever form names I want to bring in. You can click multiple at a time if you'd like to bring in more than one form. And then simply click copy on the bottom right. And that will bring that form in. It gives me this nice green check mark letting me know it was successful, and I can click OK. And I now see that form right in my loop here. All right, so let's go ahead and click on that form name. So all you have to do is click on it to pull it open in your loop. And it will bring you to this autofill box here. Okay, so right when you open that form, it will bring you to this autofill form. This autofill form here is our friend. Please make sure to never click the X here. We like this autofill form. If you do not fill this out, your clients will not be able to electronically sign. And this also helps you autofill the form in all future forms that you bring into this loop. So the roles section here, really, really important. So it's really essential that you see your client's name in line with seller 1 here, okay, or they will not be able to electronically sign. So if you do not see your client's name in line with their role, you can always click Select Person and select their name from the list here. Or if you need to add a person, you can do just that. If you didn't know there was a spouse involved in the transaction, you can add them here by clicking Add Person. So roles are very important. And it looks like I forgot to give myself a role when we're in the people section. So we can fix that right here. So if you're in a listing agreement and it's a form that you need to sign as the agent, okay, since I'm practicing with a listing loop here, to the right of listing agent, I'll want to go ahead and select myself. So again, I will not be able to electronically sign as the agent unless I give my role as the listing agent. And you'll start to notice a bunch of other fields that you can fill in under the roles section. So this is a great section to utilize. First of all, what this does is it autofills all the information that you enter in here, not only on this form that you're filling out, but all future forms that you bring into this loop. Another great thing that it does, if you're a newer agent and you're starting to learn these forms, right? These forms, some of them are about 10 pages long. It's a little overwhelming to know where each item goes on the form. If you fill it out here, it will automatically put that information where it goes on the form. Dotloop knows. Even if you're an experienced agent, it sure does save you a whole lot of time if you enter it in here. Dotloop puts it where it needs to go. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in this information just so you can see what it looks like when the form auto-populates. Alright, so you can enter in any information here. You can also search by the address or MLS number here to pull in that information. So we'll autofill this information, so that's a great time saver as well. But you can scroll down to put in any of this information and click autofill on the bottom right. Okay, you will always want to do this. The autofill box is our friend so that it saves you time and your clients can electronically sign. All right, you'll notice the fields that are yellow means that information was autofilled. Now I do go into depth in the Dotloop 101 video on how to prepare the form, how to sign it as the agent and share it to your clients to electronically sign. So if you'd like to watch that, feel free to check out the Dotloop 101 video. For time's sake, I just want to show you some cool extra tips in here that you can utilize. So on the top black toolbar, you will notice some options, such as file. Okay, you can save, print, and download. But where I really want to show you is on this More tab towards the right-hand side of the black toolbar. Go ahead and click on More. Let's talk about host in-person signing. Now, in general, Dotloop is used to, once you prepare the form as the client, you can share it on the top right here to your clients, and it sends it via email so they can electronically sign it from their email. Well, you'll run into situations where you're on the appointment. Let's say you have your computer or your tablet and you're filling out the form sitting next to your client, explaining them the form. And then wouldn't it be nice if you could then, once you're done filling in the form, pass it to your client so they can electronically sign the form sitting right next to you from your device? Well, that's exactly what this host in-person signing does. So if, again, you go to More and host in-person signing, and don't do this on your end, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Just watch up here. So host in-person signing, it will first of all ask if you want to save, and you can click yes. It will then ask you which client you would like to sign. So if you have more than one person in your loop, you would have them on the list here. You can select who you'd like to sign and click continue. Now, the biggest thing that you would need to know, okay, at that time, so once I click continue, what it will do is it will log you out of your Dotloop account as the agent, and it will log the client in to their new free Dotloop account so they can electronically sign the form sitting right next to you. So the biggest thing you need to know, once they're done signing and hand the device back to you, you will then be logged into your client's Dotloop account and not your Dotloop account. So if you need to go back into your loop from your view as the agent, you'll just need to sign back into your Dotloop account. Okay, I just want to let you guys know that so you're not caught off guard and it looks like you know what you're doing on your appointment. Okay, it's the worst. So if you have any questions on that, of course, let me know. That's why practicing these things before doing it in front of clients does definitely come in handy. So really great tool, the host in-person signing. Again, that's under the More tab. We have host in-person signing. They can sign the form sitting right next to you. Last thing I want to cover is under this add option here. You do have the option to add signatures, initials, strike through for that matter. So if your form only has the option for 2 people to sign it, 2 initial boxes, you can add a third, come up to add initials, to add that third initial box there. Okay, and we'll be talking a little bit more about adding initial boxes and how that works in just a moment here. Alright, so for now, let's go ahead and click the back button on the top left of your loop. It's the red back arrow to the left of the form name. I know that was a real quick overview of these forms here, the Dotloop forms, but I do go in depth in this in the Dotloop 101 video if you want more information on that. Okay, and before we continue, I just want to point out as well, the reason this is a Dotloop document and interactive form is because you can just click and start typing in it. Right, so that'll be the difference between this and the PDF we're about to look at. So now go ahead and click that back arrow. Like I mentioned just a second ago, I'm clicking back on the top left. It will ask you if you want to save. I'm going to click yes. It'll ask you if you want to share the form, and you can click no for right now. And it will bring you back to your loop. Now another big functionality of Dotloop, which is very cool, is that it's a PDF editor as well. If you're familiar with what a PDF is, a PDF you cannot typically just click to start typing in like we could on that last form. Right? A PDF is a set blank form. Now, not a lot of programs allow you to edit PDFs, especially not cheap ones. Okay, and you guys get Dotloop for free, well included with your KW payments there. So let me show you how you can utilize that great tool. So we can all work on a PDF together, I'm going to show you a make a copy feature. So first of all, let me show you where it is, and then I'll explain why it's such an awesome tool. So to the far right of the 3 drop-down dots, you'll go ahead, to the far right of the form name, you'll see 3 drop-down dots. And if you click on that, it will give you a whole bunch of options of what you can do to this form. And let's talk about this make a copy feature. Now this make a copy feature is what I've sent out a tip video on about a couple minutes ago in class. Alright, the make a copy feature does 2 things. First of all, it will copy forms from one loop to another if you need to do that. But in this case, let's say that you need to make a copy of this form and turn it into a PDF. So if you have a fully executed contract, let's say, and you need to make a change, just a slight change to the contract. Let's say you're changing the settlement date. As you've probably found out, if you try to make any changes to a fully executed contract, it will erase all signatures because it thinks those clients didn't sign for that. It makes sense, but total pain if you have a fully executed contract and erases all signatures. So let me show you how you can convert a fully signed document to a PDF so you can start editing that. So you could make a small change like editing the settlement date, or let's say changing your client's name if you misspelled that accidentally. Okay, any small changes you need to make like that. So again, I'm clicking on the 3 drop-down dots to the far right of the form name and clicking make a copy. When I click make a copy, I'll have 2 options to copy it as a Dotloop document. In this case, we're going to select the second option, which is copy as flat PDF, signatures preserved. Okay, that's the main thing to focus on. Signatures are preserved so we can make edits to it without erasing signatures. We're then going to select, so make sure you selected that second option in this case. We're then going to select to loop. Okay, the red button that says to loop. It will show you all of your loops, and I don't remember, hold tight, I don't remember this loop name. Okay, 767. Okay, and it will show you all of your loops that you have in your account here, and you can use the search bar to search for whatever loop that you're currently in this example. I can click on that loop. Once I click on it, it will show me the folders I have in there, and I can select which folder I would like to copy that into. For confusion's sake, I'm going to go ahead and select the sales folder and click copy. When I click copy, it gives me that nice green arrow letting me know it's successful, and I can click OK. And that copied it right into my sales folder. So now what that did is it converted it to a PDF. So as we could just start typing in the other one, this will be a flat PDF, meaning it's not editable. You can't start typing in it. But more importantly, what it means is all the signatures are preserved. So let's go ahead and click on that form that we copied. And you'll notice again that I can't just click to start typing. And if there were signatures on this form, they would be preserved. So let me show you how you can edit PDFs in here. So first of all, let me talk to you about this file option. If you come up to file, there are some cool tools in here, like splitting the document and rotating it. You can only split and rotate the document before you've added any fields, okay? So that has to be done first. So for example, when you would use this, let's say rotate, if you scan the PDF in sideways and you need to turn it, you do have the option to rotate it, page or the entire file. Splitting document comes in handy if you need to split the document. Let's say you scanned in your entire listing folder and you would like to split that listing folder into the individual forms. You can split that here. Okay, if I were to click on split document, it would pull up this box here, which I can select on the right side how many documents I'd like to split it to. I believe it's up to 10 different forms. You can then select the file name. You could type that in there and select which pages you'd like that to be from. Okay, so splitting document is a pretty cool tool in here. But let's talk about how to edit the document. So what we would do, now that we've copied it as a PDF, and let's say I have my client's name in here wrong. I just have it by Tony Stark and his legal name is Anthony. So what I would need to do is come up to Add on the top black toolbar. It gives you all these options of what to add, of items to edit. Okay, so first thing I'd want to do is maybe add a strike through. It will then start following my mouse, where I can then line it up where I'd like it, and click to drop it. Okay, just a heads up, if you're on a touchscreen computer or a tablet, it will not start following your mouse, but you can just click to drop the field. All right, so the same thing, I want to come up to Add now. Now again on the top black toolbar, and this time I'll want to add text. So I can go ahead and line up where I'd like the text and click to drop that. Now the text field off default is not very big, very small, only a few words will fit in here. So if you would like to expand that text box, you can click on the text box. When you click on it to indicate it's selected, it will highlight it red around the edges. I can then use the arrow on the bottom right. A little right triangle you'll see on the bottom right, and if you put your mouse over that right triangle, it will turn your mouse into an arrow that I can click and expand that text box. So let's say I want to write now, and Anthony Stark. Alright, so I have that now edited. So now I would like to sign. I need my clients to sign for a change, right? Anything that you edit on a fully executed document, you then need your clients to sign that. So now I'll come up to Add, and let's say I want them to initial this change. So I go Add Initials. It will start following your mouse. If you've been using Dotloop for a little bit and you're comfortable with this, just a heads up, if you need to add more than one initial box, if you hold Shift and then click to add the initial box, it will continue following your mouse, so you can click to add a second one. Okay, so if you need to add multiple, hold Shift, then click to drop it, and it will give you the option to add a second. Okay. If you accidentally add another initial box, let's say you don't need that second one, or you add it randomly in the middle of the form, if you click on the field that you need to delete, You can click on it, and then you will have the option to remove the field. It's a little X at the top of your screen, the top black toolbar. You can click the X, and it will get rid of that initial box. Okay. So now we need our clients to sign that. There is one more big step. You will need to actually physically assign the initial box to them. Okay, it's not enough to just put the initial box in. You need to assign the field. So you'll notice when I click on the initial box, it gives me the option to assign a field. Okay, and this is so Dotloop knows who to tell to sign that field. Makes sense. It will pop up this drop down where I can select my client's name from the list. And it will put their initials in print in this text box, or in this initial box, indicating to me that I set that up correctly, that my client will be able to electronically sign that field. Okay, if I were to print this form, it would be blank, this initial box. However, the TS is not showing that it is signed. It is showing that you set it up correctly so that they can electronically sign it. Okay, when it's actually electronically signed, I'm sure you've seen it. It's in cursive with a time and date stamp. It looks much different. All right, so that is how you can add, you can edit PDFs in Dotloop. You can add fields to your form, get any changes electronically signed. Main things to utilize this for is making changes to executed documents and so forth. Okay, so, or if you get a contract from the other agent and they send it to you as a PDF in an email, you can always add it to your loop and add initial boxes to it so that your clients can sign that. All right, so that's just an overview of that, how you would edit a PDF. So now let's go ahead and click the back button on the very top left of your screen. Again, it's the red arrow to the left of the form name. It will ask you if you want to save changes. You can click yes. If it asks you if you want to share, you can click no. And let's go ahead and talk about other ways to add forms to your loop. So what we want to do is click on Add Document to the far right of any of your folder names to add more forms to your loop. So far we've talked about that first option, the templates option, okay, and that is bringing interactive forms into your loop, right, forms that we can just start typing in. You have two other options here. Let's talk about the Browse option here. So it does say Browse, search and add any PDF from your computer into this folder. So let me tell you when you would want to use this, and then I'll show you how. So let's say you printed off the form. So if you do want to, let's say, type up the form and then print it out to bring it on your appointment so you can explain the form to your client and have them hand sign it right next to you. Okay, you might have a client who doesn't trust electronic signatures. Okay, you can always print out your typed up form by clicking on the three drop down dots to the far right of the form name, and you will have the option to print there. So let's say you printed out your document, your client hand signed it, and now you have this entire sales folder or in your hand, right? You have these signed documents in your hand and you need to get it into your loop. First step is you would scan those documents to your computer. So if you have a home scanner or maybe a scanner at your computer, you would scanner at your office or at your home. You would scan those to your computer and then you would save it there. Okay, so let's assume now we have those forms saved to your computer. The next step is I would click this Browse option. It will then search my computer. So I would want to go to wherever I have that saved. And I would double click on that form to bring it in. Okay, so any forms that you bring in like that, if it's scanned, that is a PDF. So if you wanted to edit that, you would have to use the practices that we just did on the last form we were looking at, right? Adding fields. You can also drag and drop files. Okay, if you feel a little more comfortable with technology, you can also drag and drop. So you could go over to bring up your files, find that on your computer, and you can always drag and drop. Let's see where that is. So I click and drag and drop it right over my folder. Okay, just another way to go ahead and do that. All right, so let me show you the one last way to go ahead and add documents, and that is this email option here. This is my personal favorite. It's a very cool feature of Dotloop. So this email option, you'll notice it says attach the files you need to an email and send them directly into this folder. So the biggest reason that you'll need to utilize this, it's the fastest way to get any attachments from your email account straight into your loop. So let's say the agent on the other side works at Remax, doesn't utilize Dotloop, and they just simply emailed you a PDF of the offered purchase signed by their clients. So now you need to add that to your loop. So currently it's in your email as an attachment. So I would recommend just watching on my screen here. This is a couple steps, so bear with me and I'll send out a tip video that reviews this so you have that as well so you can try it on your end. So first step is you'll want to click email, the third blue box here. If you're not seeing these three blue boxes, you just click add document on the far right of the folder name to pull those open. So I'll go ahead and click email. It then generates this crazy long Dotloop email address that is specific to this loop and this folder. And I can click copy to clipboard. And it tells me that the email was copied to clipboard. And I can go over to my email account, where I'll want to pull open the email that I have. So this is the email from the agent on the other side, where it's saying that it attaches the offer, and I have the PDF of the offer attached to that email. So what you'll want to do is forward this email. So to forward an email in Gmail, you can click on the three drop-down dots on the far right, top right-hand side. If you're using your KW Gmail, this is where you can go to forward. On the top right, three drop-down dots and click forward. Okay, or whatever email system you use, go ahead and forward that email with the attached offer. And we'll want to right-click in the to field to paste in that crazy long Dotloop email address. Now you'll notice that there is some verbiage in the actual email. Well, Dotloop will ignore all the verbiage in the email itself and only forward in the PDF attached. So I can click on send on the bottom. And now that I sent that off, I can go back to my loop. So I'm just in different tabs here. So I'm going back over to my loop here. And it will not just automatically appear. Okay, it takes about 30 seconds. Typically less, but about 30 seconds, and then you can refresh your page. And again, how we refresh our page is by clicking on the arrow in a circle on the very top left of your browser next to the back button. Once I refreshed, it shows me the emailed form that I just sent from my email straight to my loop. So again, that is the fastest way to get a PDF attached from your email straight into your loop. I know that was a couple steps and that was a little fast here. So let me send you this tip video as well on how to email into Dotloop. Okay, so that'll overview what I just said. There's also a second way on how you can email into Dotloop, and that will overview it for you as well. Alright, so just a heads up, you can only add PDFs to your loop. Okay, Dotloop does not accept picture files. You might run into that if you get a picture of the earnest money check or due diligence, if that's available in your area. You cannot add a picture file to your Dotloop. It only accepts PDFs. If you run into that situation, if you just simply Google JPEG to PDF converter, there are tons of free ones on Google. If you have trouble finding that, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. We can always send you that converter or just do it for you. And again, that is how you would convert a picture file to a PDF so you can add it to your loop. You would Google JPEG to PDF converter. So if you have any questions on that, please, of course, let us know. One last thing, I do just want to send over one more tip video for you guys to utilize, and that is creating form templates in your loop. This is a really great feature of Dotloop, great time saver. Creating form templates, what that does is you can create templates so that if you have a listing agreement, and a lot of the information is the same on every listing agreement, so what you can do is you can create a template. You can type in all the information that's generally the same on every listing agreement. And you can save that to your template, so you can add in that template that you created with all that default content in it to every listing loop to help save you time. So that tip video will overview that, so feel free to watch those. If you are watching this class recorded, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can potential my name, which again is Leah, and I'd be happy to send you those tip videos. And guys, if you have any questions at all on all this Dotloop stuff, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. I'd be more than happy to help walk you guys through this and help you guys utilize your Dotloop account to the fullest extent. I hope you guys have a great Friday Eve and happy looping.